Excelsior, true believers. What, too much? Do you remember a time when Hollywood wasn't just the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Yeah, like, even before the Dark Knight trilogy? Yeah, like, I'm talking when you actually had to read about protectors of justice and masked vigilantes. Sure, the Caped Crusader and heroic mutants captured our imaginations and dazzled us between comic book covers, but inside them, some true veiled villainy lurked. I'm not talking about the belligerent baddies with the elaborate costumes and, the questionable names. It's more about the malevolent intent our impressionable young minds were being exposed to. You might call it false advertising. Welcome to Sponsored, a series about culture and advertising. Ads in American comic books started showing up in the 1940s, and for decades they followed a very similar formula. Kids plus ads equals money. They were targeted directly at wide-eyed imaginative children reading the exploits of their favorite heroes. And as such, the ads in the comics featured sensational claims, crazy gadgets, and gizmos from far-off lands. For just a few dollars and some postage, they could all be yours. These ads often mimic the style of the comics whose pages they were featured in, usually with exciting illustrations, colorful characters, even those comic panels we know and love. It was hard to tell what was what. Meanwhile, the shadowy hand of rogue admin behind some of these weird treasures were deliberately manufactured to grab the attention of boys and girls and relieve them of their allowances. You may be familiar with some of the more famous treasures that could be ordered, but what about the figures behind them? Enter Harold von Braunhut, who in 1957 hired a comic book illustrator to advertise humanoid animals found in the sea who could be shipped straight to your door. Sea monkeys claim to be a family of instant pets so eager to please they can even be trained. Or perhaps you'd prefer X-ray specs, which boasted scientific principle really works. They seem to be able to look right through the flesh and see the bone. Ugh. Alas, my noble page flippers, the sea monkeys were really nothing more than tiny brine shrimp. And X-ray specs were nothing more than a cheap parlor trick that produced a hazy double image. Let's see, what other odd and mysterious abnormalities were advertised in comic books? Well, why not order real live monsters? They were nothing more than spooky chia pets, pots made up to look like monsters that would grow grass hair. Not exactly the petrifying, panic-striking beast you'd see on the page, huh? Or what about the most genuine-looking shrunken head ever made? So lifelike even the Amazonian headhunters would think this is the real thing. Yikes. There was the scientific marvel that was the invisible helmet. Nobody, but nobody will be able to recognize you when you wear this amazing invisible helmet. Okay. That's because that invisible helmet was just a mirror held together with some plastic. Nobody should have believed that ad. The truth is, back in the day, these ads were almost totally unregulated. They were filled with misleading copy and outright scams. They banked on the lack of parental supervision and used that to their advantage. Colorful copy, well-manicured photography, and clever storytelling are all part of a brand. But so is the truth. Kids with comics were hard-pressed to discern between their upright heroes and their underhanded counterparts. Ethics in advertising has always been an important topic of discussion, and most agencies do have a strong ethical standard that they try to adhere to. But ads like the ones you used to see in comic books were part of why many countries had to implement regulations, strict rules, and even ban advertising targeting children. If you enjoyed this look into the weird and wacky world of comic book ads, stay tuned for more episodes of Sponsored, where we'll be diving even deeper into some interesting advertising history and the discussions around them.